For some, I think actually life is good. For some, I don't know, for pretty much the whole of Sri Lanka is kind of in a situation. Okay, so let's forget about all that's happening around us and let's focus on this session for the next 2 hours. Can you do that? Okay, but anyway, we'll when we are doing the questions, we'll be coming up with these real world examples. So in that scenario, we'll talk about what's happening in Sri Lanka. For now, let's get into this session. So right away, the thing is, first I want to establish what this session is going to be about, what we are going to do here. And that's what I'm going to do, some sort of an introduction before we start. So what do you guys think this session or this series is going to be about? You have registered, no? You might have had some idea when you decided to register for this. So tell me, what do you think this class is going to be about? What's your expectation from this class, from this session series? Let's see whether I can make my video a little brighter. I can. Discussing questions from each chapter. Okay. Others. Motto: to achieve A pass, to get A for economics. To answer a particular question in the right way, to improve our writing skills. My aim is to improve my answering skills. I missed it. In structure questions. Okay. Understanding the structure of the econ paper. Target A for econ. Okay, so pretty much everyone has some sort of an idea what these sessions are going to be. And I think economics, let's see. I think economics is a hard subject. I can't read it. All the comments are going up when someone else sends something. I think economics is a hard subject. Hopefully this class will make it easy. Hopefully. I wish the same. Right. So this is the thing. The main reason why I wanted to do this is especially because students who come to my class, right, they normally in the class, we do theory, we also do exam papers and questions and all of that. But I always see this in students where they have some sort of an issue or some constraints when it comes to converting theoretical knowledge into answers for questions. They go through the theory, they understand the theory, they are like, okay, I'm good with theory, I know everything that's in the handout, everything is in my head, I have understood everything. But when they go and try to do a paper, when they try to do questions, even though when they read the question deals with some concept that they already know, they can't get that theoretical knowledge they have, convert it, structure it properly, and write it down as an answer. Right? So that's one thing I have seen, not just students in my class, any student would face. Even in seminars, I used to say this. When I ask a question, they're like, sir, I know this, but I don't know how to write it in an answer form. Have you felt that? Has it ever happened to you? You feel like you have studied everything, there's nothing more to learn, but when you try to do the paper, answers are not coming. There's some starting trouble or something. Happens every time. Happens sometimes. Many times. Always. See, that's why I wanted to do these sessions so that, you know, while the theory classes are going on separately, here we can take especially past paper questions, and also I want to focus on essay questions. That means part 2 questions mainly here. and discuss those questions. We take a question, we look at that question and be like, okay, this question is related to this chapter, the set of concepts. So how to answer this question, right? So we are going to kind of have a deep focus session on this, a breakdown of the question and how to answer it properly, not writing too much or not writing too little, how to write the right amount. Okay, so that's what these sessions are going to be. Okay, I'm clear, right? Everyone can hear me clearly. Okay, am I audible clearly, or is there a breakdown or something in my voice? All good. Awesome then. Good start. And so that's why I wanted to do these sessions, and I wanted to actually do these sessions for my batch students, my students who come to my class, but I didn't want to charge them extra because, you know, these kind of sessions, I also find them interesting. When you answer questions, I talk with you, you guys tell me answers in a certain way. So I also enjoy these sessions. So anyhow, it's a very important thing for the students. So I just wanted to do it as a, you know, complimentary session. I don't like using the word free, but for this poster, I couldn't put complimentary because many won't understand sometimes. So I had to put free. I would say this is like a complimentary session for them. And since anyone can join, I was like, since this is a complimentary session, I thought anyone can join, not just my students. If there's anyone else who is out there who wants to, you know, make sure they get better at answering questions, I was like, okay, anyone can join. So that's why you all are here, I believe, to get some value out of this session. And right, that's that. And this will be a weekly session, hopefully every week Tuesdays, and the time would be 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Sometimes it might change if the power cut starts at 3 and ends at 6, then there's a problem, right? At that time, I will tell you, you know, how we can change the time, at what time I will keep the session and stuff. For now, 3:30 to 5:30 is the session time. And also one more thing I want to establish now itself before we start the questions, the Zoom link will be put in the Telegram group, and that Telegram group will not just be a group to give you the link for the class. There, my plan is for now is to give you more content or, you know, related to economics, A level specifically, right? It can be MCQ questions that you can do. You know, you have multiple choice options in this thing, Telegram, so you can answer those questions. I'm also planning to make small videos where I will explain those questions, you know, explain the answers for those questions and put that in the Telegram group itself. So if you are in the group, you will be getting those benefits also, not just the link for this class, right? That's that. And if there's anything else, I will update you later on. For now, we'll get into the session. So to start it off, I want to ask you, here we are all about doing these papers and questions now. So if I ask you in A level, let's say you are sitting for your A level paper, you'll be doing part 1. Okay, let's say you are doing the part 1 economics paper. How many questions are there in the part 1 A level economics paper? Yes, this is for A level 2022 and 2023, both. There are 50 MCQs. Correct. Good job. All 50, what do you think? Are they MCQs? Are there structure questions like business studies? Only MCQs, right? So that part, fine. Everyone knows that. So if you go and look at your A-level paper, not your A-level paper, a sample of the A-level paper, this was the 2020 A-level paper. If you go here, so this is how it's gonna look. This is part 2. If you go to part 1, so you have 2 hours, 50 MCQs. This is how your question template is going to be. You have the question, 5 answers. That's shape, I believe, right? You all are used to doing these MCQs, and yeah, a lot of, even I'm glad that we have only MCQs in the paper, unlike in accounting and business studies, where you have 30 MCQs and 20 structure. Am I right? Right. So the main focus we have here is this one, part 2. They say questions. So if you look at this part 2 paper, you have, what's the time you get for this? Give me a moment. I'm getting a call. Right. So what's the time you get to finish your A-level second paper in economics? You assume it's 3 hours. You are in batch 22 or 23. 23 means it's okay, but if you are in 22 and you are now assuming it means not good. 23 is fine. Cool. Right. So you get 3 hours and 10 minutes extra additional reading time, as you can see in the paper itself. And here you have A part and B part, right? So part 2 paper has 2 parts now, subsection A, subsection B. In each of these sections, how many questions do you get? In subsection A, how many questions? In subsection A, 5. In subsection B, another 5. And luckily, majority of these 10 questions, so you have in total 10 questions, 5 in A, 5 in B, right? And in total, how many questions you are supposed to do? In total, how many questions you are supposed to do? You are supposed to do not 4, you're supposed to do 5 questions, right? Can you choose all 5 from subsection A itself? You're supposed to do 5 questions. Can you choose all 5 from subsection A and just leave out the year 13 syllabus? You can't do that, right? In vain. What you can do is, or what you should do is rather, is to choose 2 questions from each subsection minimum. That means in subsection A, you have to choose minimum of 2 questions. You have to do the same in subsection B. So 2 from A, 2 from B, that leads to 4 questions. But the thing is, they have said you are supposed to do 5 questions. So what you should do now is, there's one more question left that you can pick either from section A or section B. So if you choose to pick that question from subsection A, that means you can do, or you'll be doing 3 questions from section A, and you are supposed to do another 2 from section B. That will round off all your total questions answered as 5. Is that clear? Or if you want, you can pick 2 from subsection A and 3 from subsection B as well. Is that clear? So students in 2022 especially, and also students in 2023, do you have any idea how you are going to do your paper? Are you going to take 3 questions from A and 2 from B, or 2 questions from A and 3 from B? Any idea? Have you decided it, or are you going to just go and have a look at your A-level paper and then decide it on that day? Picking the easiest. Of course, who don't pick the hardest question, okay? Out of the 10, whichever are the easiest question, just pick them and be done with it. Don't take any risks taking complicated questions. Right, so this is how it's going to be. So 2022 students, most of them are saying 3 from part A, 2 from part B. 2023 students, I believe, are saying they have no idea, or it depends on the paper. So this is how it is. Actually, it should depend on the paper, but before you go and do your paper, you can actually have some idea of which part you are going to pick the 3 questions from, depending on how good you are at year 12 syllabus and year 13 syllabus, right? So part A would consist mainly questions from year 12 syllabus, chapter 1 to chapter 6, whereas the part B of the second paper would consist questions from chapter 7 to chapter 12, right? If you ask me, I would recommend, right, after learning the whole syllabus, I would recommend you to go with 3 questions from part A and 2 from part B. The reason why I say that is the year 12 syllabus is something you would have traveled for a longer period of time compared to the year 13 syllabus, right? So if your A-level career, or if your A-level duration is about 2 years, the year 12 syllabus will be with you 1 year more, or it will be with you an extra year compared to the 13-year syllabus. You get my point here? In the first year, you studied the year 12 syllabus, and then the second year, you go to the 13 syllabus. But the first year syllabus, you have already learned it. You might have revised it several times by the time you get to your A-levels, right? Maybe for term exams, maybe for these seminar session exams, or for monthly exams in classes. You might have revised that first 6 chapters so many times. And chapter 7 and 8 and 9 also, same thing. When you compare it with the last 3 chapters or last 2 chapters, 11 and 12, the rest, you might have gone through them a lot of times already. That's why I would recommend you to go with 3 questions from part A and 2 from part B. And those questions also, I would recommend you to go with the chapter 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, because 11 and 12 are more related to real world scenarios and would ask you actually to suggest certain policy stuff as well. You might have to think of real world scenarios and come up with conclusions and provide advices to the government in those questions. That's kind of a next level thing. That's why I would recommend you to go with the first 10 chapters. Make sure you are thorough with them, right? So that you can do all those required 5 questions from part 2 within the first 8 questions in the part 2 paper, leaving the 9th and the 12th question. If you are comfortable, you can do, but don't depend on them. That's my advice. That's what I did. Okay. And another advice I can tell you is you can't leave out chapter 11 and 12. For MCQ purposes, for MCQs, you have to do all 15. For that, you have to cover the whole syllabus anyway, right? That's another thing. And one more thing I want to say, just because they say you have to do 5 only, you don't have to stop there. If you can do 7 questions also, right? If you have the time, and if you find 2-3 questions are like very simple, you are like, okay, I can get equal marks in these 3 questions, and I also have the time to do them. Right? Don't be like, okay, they will only check the first 5 questions, leave out the last 2. Don't think like that. They will take questions in which you have scored the highest marks, right, and add it. That's how it works. So advantages of doing 7 questions. The thing is that I won't say there's like an advantage, by doing 7 questions. What you get is actually, let's say you do only 5, and out of the 5, 1 question, you might have made a certain mistake in calculations or something that might lead you to losing 5 to 6 marks. You won't even realize it until you finish and come out and check the answers with your friend. That happens sometimes. You think everything you have done is perfect, but you come out and then check with your friends. They are like saying some other answer. You have got something else. Then you realize your mistake. So something like that can happen. In that scenario, if you have done 1 or 2 extra, and in those questions you have, got about, let's say, 17 out of 20, and in that calculation question you ended up getting only 14 because of losing that, making that mistake. Now what will happen? This 14-mark question won't be added to your total. On the other hand, that 17-mark question is in now, but that was not part of your first 5. You get my point? Those kind of additional advantages are there, but it's not a must at all. It's just an additional thing you can do if you have extra time, and if you see another question where you feel like, okay, I can score full marks in this also. I can score 18 marks in this also. You get my point? Are you all with me? Yes, you can. I actually did in my A levels, I did 7 questions. Okay, because I had so much time, and the questions were like pretty cool, not that hard. Okay, so I did 7 questions and ended up getting an A. And before all of this, I just have to introduce myself. Now, some of you have no idea who I am. I'm just a person talking about economics. You don't know what credibility I have to talk about these things. So my name is Amry Asif, by the way. I'm a graduate from University of Columbus, specializing in economics. I'm not a specialist in accounting. I'm not a specialist in marketing. My specialization is economics, and I have a first-class degree in economics, right? And yeah, and kind of I love economics from A-level times itself, and I have my A-level results is like all A's. I don't say 3 A's. I used to say 5 A's, including general English and IT, right? So that's that. And yeah, about all those introduction, I think I'm done now. With that, I think we can get to the questions, the main reason why you guys are here. Right. Anything else you guys want to know before we move on? No, Shani, it's not compulsory. Sir, what's your O-level results? My O-level results, 7 A's and 2 B's. So how to manage also all 3 subjects? Will you continue this session till our A-level? This is not just a 1 week, 2 week session. I'm planning on continue it throughout. Okay. So if you are a 2022 students, anyway, I will continue it throughout your A levels. Even for 2023, I'm hoping to do the same. So what's your A level results? I told you it's 5 A's. You did A level privately? No, I did my A levels at BS Senanayake College, Columbus 7. Not A levels, are from grade 6. I did my schooling there. When we start studying Unit 2, Chapter 1 will be forgotten by that time. So where are you from? But as Mukyama, is that an important question where I'm from in this virtual class? I'm in Rajagiri, by the way, right now. I will continue, Adila, don't worry. Right, so let's start the question, okay? And then throughout the session, for breaks and stuff, we'll discuss some off topics. Here, we'll start the session now. Cool. So first question you see here, and this is how the questions are going to be. I didn't take 1 year's paper and put it here. I just took questions from first chapter, right? And also the initial parts of first chapter will be done first. Then we'll move on to the second part, which is the economic system, and then also the third part, which is the production possibilities curve. So that's how I'm going to take you through the whole syllabus here. First, we will start with chapter 1 questions. That way, we are also doing these questions. You are learning to answer questions. You are learning to structure questions. Plus, you are also revising the whole chapter again, right? So that's how my sessions are going to be, right? So this session is not just, kind of making you practice how to answer questions and stuff, but this is also a revision session for you all. And let's start with the first question, and then you will get an idea how it works. So first question, what distinguishes entrepreneurship from labor as a factor of production? So this is a question from, I believe, 2018 past paper. This is the first question in 2018's paper. Yes, you guys will get a PDF document of this put in the Telegram group. So take a minute, right? Take a minute in your head, structure the answer, and type and send me 1 or 2 differences that you can think of between entrepreneurship and labor. Don't rush an answer. Never do that. When you read a question, take a minute. Okay, this is what they are asking. Okay, these are the differences I know. How can I package it as an answer? You have to decide that first before you start writing. Because I guess this might have or must have happened to you in your O-level or before A-level in your language subject, English or Sinhala or Tamil. They might have asked you to write essays. Do you remember? 250-word essay, 200-word essays. In your second language, they might ask you to write 100-word essays. Have you done that? Someone's video is on. Whose video is on? For like 10 minutes. Okay. Right. So I've received a lot of answers from you, and they are also right. What you are trying to say is actually okay when it comes to the answer for this question. But the first thing I want to say is, now you have this question, and you see the marks they are giving for this question. Actually, it's not given. I've missed to give it. So it's actually 4 marks. Right? They have said they'll give 4 marks for this question. If they are giving 4 marks for a question and they are asking you to differentiate or distinguish 2 different concepts, that means you should go with 4 different points, 4 different differences. Each difference or each point will get you 1 mark. That's how the scheme goes. When there are 2 different concepts given to you and you are asked to differentiate those 2 concepts from one another, you have to write down 4 separate differencing points. Okay, so first of all, when you start answering, like I said, before you write, structure your answers in your head. I talked about these essays you wrote in your O-levels and before in language subjects. No, you might have faced situations where they might have asked you to write about something happening in the economy or something happening in the country or some story. You might have first started off writing something. While you are about 50 words in, you feel like, I should have added this above. It would have kind of enhanced my essay. Has it ever happened to you? You are like 50 words in already or halfway through. Now you feel like, I should have added this sentence above. It happens. Very often it happens, right? So that is a waste of time now, because if you cut your that answer you have written down and then write it again, that's a waste of time, right? Also, your answer is now hanging by a thread, because you are not sure whether if I don't at that point above, will I lose marks. That's why I told you, when you are writing an answer, structure it first, then write it down. So here, they're asking you to distinguish entrepreneurship from labor. Let me go this way. So let's take the first point to separate entrepreneurship from labor. You go like this. Always, when you have two different concepts, I always say this, pretty much one or two classes in, we talk about this. We will do something like a question like this, where we compare two different concepts. If you get such a question, this is what you have to do. First, write down the definition, right? Write down the definition of each of these concepts. That itself is a difference, right? It will distinguish entrepreneurship from labor. The definition of entrepreneurship will distinguish from labor. So that's how you start. First, you say, what is entrepreneurship? Now, to write this difference, like I said, you have to write the definition first. No? So you need to first go and study these concepts related to this question also. You should know what is entrepreneurship. You should know the characteristics of entrepreneurship. You should know why entrepreneurship is special in comparison to other factors of production. You need to know what is labor, what are the characteristics of labor. Then only you can compare them both. If you have no idea what entrepreneurship's characteristics are, now you can't compare it with labor. You can't write 4 or 5 differences then. You can write the definition, but you don't know the characteristics it means you can't continue your answer and get the whole marks. You might just get only 1 or 2 marks for this, right? So that's why I would recommend you always to study the theory first, then attempt papers. If you don't study theory first, or if you don't have a proper knowledge of concepts, you do a question related to those concepts, you can't expect yourself to score full marks. You will always find the questions to be difficult, one way or another. You might be like, I know these concepts, but how to write an answer for this? You can write it only if you have understood the concepts and its characteristics, whatever that is there in theory. You have to know, you have to have understood them to convert them into answers. Without understanding concepts, it's never possible for you to do questions freely. Right? One great example is in 2021 A-level paper, there's a question asking about, they have said, okay, there's a 500-acre land. In that land, government is building something. And they have asked you, explain the concept of scarcity, opportunity cost using this scenario. Now, a student who has just by-hearted memorized what is scarcity, what is opportunity cost, what is choice, will find themselves in a, I don't know, like in an ocean where they can't breathe. There's nothing they can do here, because all they know is scarcity means this. They know the definition for choice. They know the definition for opportunity cost. But here they have asked you, giving a scenario, how can you connect these concepts to this scenario? You can do them. You can answer to that question only if you have understood the concept, not memorized it. Many of the students face issues in converting theories into answers is because they have memorized the theory, not understood the theory. Right? So if I ask you now, what do? Do you memorize theory or do you understand them? Tell it to me honestly. You are just directly talking to me. No one else is going to see your response. So tell me, do you memorize theory or do you understand and then kind of memorize it so that you won't forget the words. What do? Do you do both, or you only do understanding part, or you do the memorizing part, by hearting? Both, but mostly memorizing, both. So you see here, there are different types of students, right? Some memorize it, some understand it, some do both of them. I would recommend you doing both of them because it's better when it comes to especially A level, because in A level you can't go too much outside of whatever that is given in the syllabus theories and write only the explanation of the concepts in your words. You can't do it completely on your own. You have to confine yourself to the theory of the syllabus, and within that box you have to play with your words and give the answers. That's how it works. When we do other questions where you have to structure the answer, I will explain it further. For this question, you don't have to worry about it a lot. You start with the definition for entrepreneurship first. Then you say, whereas entrepreneurship is this, labor is this. So entrepreneurship, you guys know what it is, right? Entrepreneurship simply is the resource or the factor that combines land, labor, capital, and engages in what? Policy decision making with a view of profit while taking risk. You don't even have to write the whole thing. You have to mainly say entrepreneurship is the factor that combines land, labor, capital, and engages in production expecting profit while bearing risk. Whereas labor is what? So we first wrote down entrepreneurship definition. Then you have to write down the definition for labor. Labor is simply mental or physical efforts of humans used in production. Okay, so that's what labor is. It should be mental and physical effort of humans, not of cows or bulls or chickens. Mental and human efforts of humans. So mental and physical efforts of humans used in production, not to play cricket, right? Efforts used in production. You have to say that clearly. So that's what labor is. So that's your first point. You get 1 mark for that. You have written down 1 point distinguishing labor and entrepreneurship. Now, tell me another point. Some of you have already said them, right? A very basic, very obvious difference you can come up with is the return. What is the return for entrepreneurship? Profit is the reward for entrepreneurship, whereas the reward for labor is salary or wages, right? So that's how your point has to be. Profit is the reward for entrepreneurship, whereas salary and wages are the reward for labor. That's another point. You get 1 more mark for that. Right. Very good, Farika. Another point you can write down is entrepreneurs take risk. Entrepreneurs bear risk. Whereas laborers, generally what they do is they avoid risk. Laborers are never into taking risks, right? You can't ask a labor, let's say someone is coming to an interview to your company and you are the CEO or someone who is running the company. You can't be like, okay, we'll give you a monthly return, but it's not going to be a fixed salary. That's that amount, that return you get every month will depend on the profit we make every month, right? That means when we make a loss, you won't be getting any salary, but you have to pay us when we make a loss. That's how it works. No. Will anyone go and work in your firm if that's your policy for return for the laborers? You're like, we won't pay a fixed salary. When our profit is high, we pay you high. When our profit is low, we pay you low. When we make loss, you pay us. When you put that risk on the head of the labor, that labor will never come and work for you, right? Because risk is born only by entrepreneurs. Labor never bears a risk, right? So they avoid it. Very good, Inusha. Another point that you can write is entrepreneurs innovate. Entrepreneurs innovate, whereas laborers, do they innovate? They don't care, right? If the job of someone is to come and do their work on Excel, they will do it on Excel until they die, even though there has another way to automate the whole process. That labor will never do that. Why? If he did that, he will lose the job. Labor will never innovate, because innovation can get rid of this labor from his job, right? Because innovation always, what happens is, when you innovate and come up with a new technology, come up with a new product, what happens is you might have to use lesser and lesser resources. Something which took 10 people to produce in the 1900s would take about 1 person to produce now with the machines we have, right? So entrepreneurs will innovate because they want to make more profit. To make more profit, they have to come up with new products. They have to cut down on costs. So they want to innovate. Whereas laborers, they don't want to innovate. They want the things to be the same till they retire. Okay, so that's another point you can give. Entrepreneurs innovate, laborers, they do not innovate. So you can give them in point form, right? So here we have 4 points. Like I said, the question gives you 4 marks, so you have to give 4 different separate points. Okay, I also might recommend you to tabulate the answer like this. You can just put it in a table and explain the situation here. First, you tell the definition, right? That's the definition. And then you tell, okay, entrepreneurs profits, laborers, the reward is salary. But nowadays, when it comes to correction of papers, this table format is not used a lot by students because they want stuff to be in points. Okay, so I'm not also promoting this table that much anymore. I would recommend you to go with point form. Okay, so if you can think of any other difference, you can write them, no problem. Entrepreneurs make policy decisions about the future, whereas laborers make only small work related decisions. That's all. They don't think about the future and make decisions. So you can write that. Okay, anything else that you can think of? Entrepreneurs possess leadership qualities. Okay, you can say they are creative, whereas laborers are not that much into those things. Entrepreneurs mobilize factors of production. They combined land, labor, capital, whereas labor works for this entrepreneur. You can tell that if you want. But one more thing I'm going to tell you now itself. Some of the answers you guys are sending, yes, you can state them as differences, but make sure out of the whole list you have in your head that can separate entrepreneurship from labor, you pick the top, best, most obvious 4. Don't take risks writing about something you are not so sure about. right? Write the ones which you are 100% sure to be differences, and the points which obviously show that these two are different from one another. Can't we write more than 4? You can write more than 4, you can write, right? But in that case, sometimes the first 4 might be only looked at. Okay. The important market economy errors labels are not. And some of you are saying that entrepreneurship is human capital, labor is a living factor. Sorry, entrepreneurship is a human factor, whereas labor is a living factor. Actually, entrepreneurship, labor, both are known as human resources, right? Both are human factors, because an entrepreneur is a person. Labor is also a person. It comes from a person, actually. Both entrepreneurship and labor comes from a person. So both are human factors, right? Don't write that as a difference, actually, because both are human factors. You see here, that's why I told you, when you are answering a question, you need to be thorough with the concepts themselves first. What is the definition? What are the characteristics? You have to be thorough with the concept. Then only you can answer question. If you are halfway complete with the theory, your answer will also get you only half the mark, right? So that's why I told you, before going to attempt any questions, you have to make sure you are completely okay with the theory part. So if we are doing chapter 1 questions now, okay, so next class also we'll be doing chapter 1 questions. So what I want you to do is, if you want to attempt these questions, you have to study chapter 1, revise it first, then attempt the questions. Then come to the class where we will discuss the question and answers. That way you will learn a lot more than what you might be learning today without revising chapter 1. You are just here. If that's the case, now whatever I say, you will be able to understand it. Okay, but if you have already revised what is entrepreneurship, what is labor, what are the characteristics, and now you are here, what you are actually doing is you are filling all the gaps in your knowledge, because already you have some knowledge in your head regarding entrepreneurship and labor. If you had any doubts, you are clearing them. It's easy to do that, clearing the small gaps. If you are completely if you haven't studied or revised chapter 1, but you are here now, there's a huge gap in your head which is hard to cover. I believe you guys get what I'm saying. Now, so first question, that's how you go about it. To get the 4 marks, you write 4 different points separating entrepreneurship from labor. So if you get this question again or similar question in your A level, are you confident you will score the whole complete 4 marks? Yeah, Hamdan, if you want, you can do that. Yes. Very good. So that confidence you can build up only by doing more and more questions like this, right? So this is the first class now, so I'm going to talk not only about questions, I'm going to talk about these other stuffs behind the questions also. When we get through more and more classes, more and more questions, then we'll focus a lot in the question part only, rather than talking about the techniques, because the techniques you will learn them initially, and whenever we do a different question where a special technique is supposed to be used, then only I will talk about the technique to be used. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question now. So here it's going to be about explain using examples the difference between free good and economic good. So do you know what is a free good and economic good? Before answering, you should obviously know what these are. Then only you can answer this question. So tell me, do you know what these are? What is a free good? What is an economic good? They have asked for examples also. No? So tell me examples of free good and economic good. Okay, this is the student version. No, I should get mine. Oh, it's okay. So in your, you might have a handout, or you might have some sort of, a notebook or something. In that, you would obviously have written down what is non-economic good, what is an economic good, and all of that, right? So the thing is, for this question, first of all, you need to have gone through that part. What is a non-economic good? What is an economic good? And before all that, you should know that in the question they have said free good. That free good refers to non-economic goods. If you don't know that, now you are going to get this question wrong. Okay, first you need to know that, okay, free goods are non-economic goods. Economic goods are just economic goods. Okay, so you should know that. Plus, like I said, it's not just enough to know the definition. You need to also know the characteristics as well, because the question goes like what? They are asking you to distinguish these two concepts from one another. So it's not just enough for you to write the definition. You have to write maybe 2 or 3 more points showing how they are different from one another. Right? So here you guys have said a lot of examples. Very nice, because they have asked for examples also. For examples also, you get 1 mark. Right? So for economic good, you guys have said water bottle. You guys have said books, buildings, mobile phones. What else? Tell me an example for non-economic good then. So actually you have this photo here, no? In this photo, tell me the economic good you have and the non-economic good you have. Right. The sunglass you see are economic goods. The sunlight in the picture, actually sunlight, yeah, you kind of can get the idea on what I'm saying when I say sunlight. Now that's a non-economic good. Now, when you know the examples for these two goods, in your head, you can come up with the differences between those two. So when it comes to sunlight, you know it's completely natural. There's no human intervention in its production, whereas sunglasses are produced by humans, by machines. They are produced. So that's one main difference between a free good and an economic good. A free good is any good where resources are not used in their production. So you see here non-economic goods, what you should write is goods with no resource usage and no opportunity cost in production are called free goods. So that should be your first distinguishing point. Goods with no resource usage, no opportunity cost in production are called free goods. Whereas economic goods are, how would you define them? Economic goods are goods with resource usage and opportunity cost in production. If you say that, that itself is enough. Goods with resource usage and opportunity cost in production are called economic goods. Right? So that's how you start. Let me get to the question. Right. So like I said, you start with the free good here because the question goes in that way. Explain using examples the difference between a free good and an economic good. So you start with saying free goods are, what do you say? Free goods are goods which have no resource usage. So I'm going to just write in short here, otherwise it will take too much time. No, resource usage or opportunity cost in production. That's your first point. Free goods are goods which have no resource usage or opportunity cost in production. Economic goods are goods which have resource usage and opportunity cost in production. So that's the first point you have to write down. That's the first point you have to write down. Is that clear? Is that point clear? So like I said, this is not just me helping you to answer question. This is also me revising that non-economic economic good part. So you get both here. So this is like a paper class and a revision class both put together. So the first point, are you all okay? The second point you can write is actually you can go about like this. Free goods, right? Free goods. What do you think? They are limited or unlimited? Sunlight is limited or unlimited? Free goods are limited. Unlimited. Free goods are unlimited, whereas economic goods are limited. That's one. Or you can say free goods are non-scarce, economic goods are scarce. So this is point 1. This is your second point. And third point can be, you can talk about like free goods. So some of you are saying this thing, that free goods are natural. Yeah, free goods, every single free good that's available is natural. Because if human intervention is there, that product cannot be a free good anymore. It will become an economic good. Because resources are used means it's an economic good. Sunlight is a free good because there's no resource that's used in its production because it's completely natural. No one produced it. Air, completely natural. No one produced it. That's why we call it a free good. Whereas economic goods, you see the smartphones you have, the shirt I'm wearing, the laptop we have, that's man-made. Resources are used, right? So you don't have to write that point again because in the definition you have said that. So to say, differentiate them. Another point, can anyone tell me quickly? Right, very good. The rivalry part. So when it comes to free good, is there any rivalry in consumption? Do you go and fight with your brother or sister to get sunlight? Or for air, do you go and fight with your brother or sister? Free goods are free goods have no rivalry in consumption. Free goods have no rivalry in consumption. I don't know about you, but I don't think just because your sibling, brother or sister is breathing air, you're not suffocating, no. You also have air to breathe. Okay, so don't give this as a reason to hit your brother or sister in the future, saying she is breathing my air, so I can't breathe anymore. That's not going to happen. And unless you are put in a bunker or something, where air might be limited, then it's an economic good. Generally, in the environment as of now, air is kind of, relatively speaking, unlimited. So free goods have no rivalry in consumption, whereas economic goods have rivalry in consumption. So another point you have written down. 3 points you have written. Fourth one, you can actually get away with just writing the example, right? Because they have asked you to give example and explain. So now for the fourth point, you can just get away with giving the examples. So if you want to give example, glass in the photo you saw is an economic good, whereas sunlight, air, we consider them to be non-economic goods. So you can write them. If you want to write any more points, right, without the example itself, if you want 4 points, now you can go ahead and say, free goods, do they have a price? Do you pay money to get sunlight? They are called free goods because they are completely free, right? Free goods have no price. No price. Whereas economic goods, what can you say? Economic goods, do they have a price or don't they have a price? Or it's better if you word it this way for your own sake. Free goods have zero price. That's better. They have zero price. Whereas economic goods, they have price. They have price, but the price can be zero as well. Can be zero as well. Free goods don't have any price, right? They are completely free all the time. Economic goods, they have price. You can buy this, I don't know, this is a highlighter, I think. This highlighter you can buy for how much? 100 rupees? I have never bought a highlighter. 100 rupees, let's say. So this highlighter, you pay 100 rupees, right? It has a price. But if someone gifts it to me, I have this highlighter now. I have never paid any money for this. I got it for free, zero price. Someone just gifted it to me. Or maybe in a giveaway, I won it. Or maybe there was some clearance happening and all. I just went there. I bought something else. They gave this for free. In all those instances, what happened? The price for this is zero. Does that mean this is a free good like sunlight? No. This is still an economic good. Right? This is still an economic good, which is limited in availability, which has plastic and human resources used in its production. But I got it for free. So that's why we say economic goods, they have price, but the price can be zero as well. That means you can get it for free also. In Dansal, you go and get free food. Nowadays, what is the highlight every day in the evening? Something you get mostly for free. Kanji, right? Archi kanji. So that if you get from your nearest mosque for free, doesn't mean it's a free good. No, it's not an uneconomic good. It is still an economic good. Resources are used in its production. People have worked to produce it. Someone is paying for it also. You are just drinking it for free. You got it for zero price. Okay, so that's why you have to be very careful about the fourth point I have written down. Free goods have zero price, whereas economic goods have price, but the price can be zero as well. Okay, that is one very important point where you can get easily confused. They provide food in Gota, Gogama is also economic good. Yes, it's still food. It's not something that fell from heaven. Someone at home put flour, put some what do you call, salt and all of that stuff, and made something. For that, resources are used. And what they did was they came and kind of gave it as a sort of a gift for the people who are there at Gogam. So the one who is eating the bread and sambol or sini sambol or whatever, that guy didn't pay a price. Just because of that, you can't say it's a free good in terms of from an economic point of view. I'm talking from our normal point of view, we'll be like, I got that for free. That is okay. But from an economic point of view, a free good is a product which is completely natural. We have not used any resource to produce it, like sunlight, like air. You can even say a flowing river as a non-economic good because it was not produced. It's, relatively speaking, it's not scarce also. It's available in abundance. You don't pay any money to get it. You don't fight with someone to use it. So that's what a non-economic good is. An economic good is something that is produced using limited resources. Like anything you can see around you is produced with limited resources. Right? So they are economic good. But the fourth point is very important because the next question also, I think, talks about this specific fourth point. So to finish this off, we have written down 4 distinct points to differentiate free good and economic goods from one another. The 5th point, let's go with examples. Right? The example you can write as the 2nd point also, but in this case, we'll write it as the 5th point. So example for free good, sunlight. When I say sunlight, are you thinking of the soap? No. Sunlight soap, which type of product? Free good or economic good? That's economic good, okay? So soaps and whatever the brand that is will be economic good. Any food item that you eat, pretty much, like even fruits, they are also limited, no? So they are examples for economic good. So these are non-economic goods. Soap, phones, shirts, all of those are economic goods. Okay. Even generally we say water, for example, rainwater is considered to be non-economic good. But guys, one point I want to explain now itself, even though it's not related to this question, it is possible for a free good to be converted into an economic good. Rainwater is a free good. It's relatively speaking non-scarce. It's not produced at all. It's natural completely. No one fights for it. But if that rainwater is stored in a tank, the water in that tank is an economic good. The rainwater that's stored in the tank is an economic good because the rainwater that's in the tank is limited. If one person goes and takes it, other people can't get it. Sunlight also is generally a free good, but that same sunlight stored in a solar panel would become an economic good. Why? Because human effort is used to store it. It's limited. It can be sold for a certain price. Oxygen, air, pretty much a free good, but same oxygen stored in a tank becomes an economic good. So that is also something you need to know, even though it's not related to this question. I just want to explain it. Like I said, here we do that revision part also. Oxygen is a free good for us, but for astronauts, it's an economic good because they have oxygen in a tank. No? Because of that, it becomes an economic good for them. Even in hospitals, they use these oxygen tanks to give to help patients breathe. Now that is also the air that's in that tank is economic good. Why? Because effort was taken to put that air into that tank. Whereas this air around us is just naturally there. We don't know where it came from. Someone is asking, lottery is an economic good or non-economic good? What do you think? Lottery. You win prize money in lottery. What do you think? Economic good or non-economic good? Economic good, right? Lotteries are economic good. Why? Because if you win, that means I have lost. Come on, why did you win? Otherwise, I would have got the money. No. When someone wins the lottery, the other guy who bought the ticket, he'll be like, if you didn't win, I would have won. That's how people are going to think. And also, it's a limited thing. And lottery, actually, someone is spending money to give you that gift, right? It's not like it didn't come out of thin air. So it is an economic good. Okay, so hope you guys are clear with economic, non-economic goods. All cool? And also the question we just did above. All good? Right. So there's another question: define and classify economic resources. It's a very small answer, so I want you to just type and send me. And also, if you know the classification of economic resources, tell that also. I'll give you like 2 minutes. First think, then quickly type and send. Then I'll take you through the answer. A very basic, very simple question, easy to get the complete 4 marks. 4 marks or 3 marks? 4 marks. Right, everyone can hear me, right? Clearly? Right, I'm back. The thing is, what happened was, the guys hear me clearly? Everything is clear? Can't see the screen. Now, is there anything visible? Is there anything wrong? Can you see me? Now it's okay. Cool. What happened was, last Saturday, the government said, or the CEB rather said, that power cut for this area will be, I think, 6 o'clock to 7. After that, or in the morning. So that's why I said 3:30, 5:30 class. And yesterday night, they have updated it, saying current goes at 5 to 6:20 here. So that's why I just wanted to switch to my phone's data before the power goes. I'm on mute? No. Everyone can hear me, right? I don't think I'm on mute. Yeah, everyone can hear me, Hamdan. Right. So that's why I just wanted to switch now itself before the power goes. Otherwise, it will be a mess. Okay. So here, define and classify economic resources. So this question, again, is very easy to answer, but students easily miss this part. The reason why they miss is simply because they know what is or what these economic resources, what they mean, right? So economic resources means anything that we can use in production if it is limited in availability compared to our wants. That means if it is scarce, we'd call it an economic resource. Any resource which is scarce in availability, and since it's limited, scarce, if you use them in production, what's going to happen? You will have opportunity cost. So those type of resources, we call them as economic resources, right? But the thing is, everyone knows what these economic resources are, but the problem is, how do we classify them? What are the classification of economic resources? Do you know that? I see some of you have sent me answers, right? But to an extent it's right, to an extent it's actually wrong. Some have precisely sent the answer. Very good. So this is how it goes. So this is a very, like I said, students miss it very easily. So first you have to say what is economic resource. So you see whatever that's shown to you on screen, if you write it, that's enough. And I would recommend you to write this portion: scarce resources used in production with an opportunity cost in production are called economic resources. If you want, you can add this second point, because that is what many of you miss. You don't know that these economic resources are the factors of production. The factors of production. And factors of production, we know the classification. How do we classify the factors of production? Hamdan, I think from your end something is wrong, because others are answering and others can hear me. What are the types or classifications of factors of production? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So that's the classification. Economists classify economic resources as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. That's it. You don't have to write anything anymore. You have to say this is what economic resources are, the definition. Then you say this is the classification, right? This is the classification. But let me tell you the main points you are supposed to include in your answer. One, you have to say that economic resources are scarce resources. You have to say they are scarce, or else you have to say they are limited in availability compared to unlimited wants. You have to say that. That's one, the scarce part. Number two, you can say it in the same point or a separate point. You have to, you will face opportunity cost. That will get you another mark. So if you go to the question now, let me get to the question to see how much marks they are giving. 4 marks, right? So they're asking you to define and classify economic resources. For definition, they will give you 2 marks. For the classification, they give 2 marks. Definition means, so defining part here, you say scarce resources, for that you get 1 mark. The opportunity cost in production part, you get another mark. You have to say both to get 2 marks for definition. Classification, you say economists, they classify economic resources into 4 types. What are the 4 types? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. You get half a mark for each of those 4 types. That way, you get 2 marks for the classification, 2 marks for the definition, you end up with 4. So this is how your answer is supposed to be structured. Is that clear? You don't have to define the classification. You don't have to say what is land, what is labor. No, that's not the question here. The question is define economic resources, classify economic resources. They didn't ask you to explain the classification, define the classification. They didn't ask. So that's where you need to know what this word define, what this word classify, what this word distinguish, what this word explain means. The glossary, what they mean. Because based on that only, your answer has to be structured. You can't be like, define and explain, they mean the same thing. Define and describe, they mean the same thing. They don't. Right? So distinguish means you have to differentiate them. When they say compare, you have to talk about the common elements between 2 concepts. When they say contrast, you have to talk about different elements between 2 concepts. So these glossaries, you get used to them not by memorizing the words meaning from a dictionary, but by doing questions under what context the word comes. Then you will understand, okay, this is how my answer is supposed to be. If they ask you what are the types of factors of production, you just say land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. If they ask you explain the type of factors of production, then you have to say what land and explain land. You have to say capital, explain capital. That's how questions are structured. What we don't know is that part. The question is asked, we know the types of factors of production, but we don't actually know what the paper is asking from us. Is it just asking us to list out the factors of production or to give definition for the factors of production? So you get to know them properly by doing them repeatedly, right? Thank you for asking that question, Farika. No need to give examples also, Zain. Here they didn't ask for any of that. They have asked you define economic resource, classify economic resource. Done. That's it. You don't have to do anything anymore. Say resources which are scarce, resources which have opportunity cost in production are economic resources. If you want, you add economic resources are also the factors of production. Then classify them: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Done. Apart from that, right, you don't have to give examples. Okay. Apart from that, there's another way to classify economic resources. One is directly you can say land, capital, labor, entrepreneurship. That's one way. Or else there's another way to classify them. It goes like this: property resources and human resources. Property resources, human resources. Economic resources can be classified into these two: property and human resources. Under property resource, we have land and capital. Under human resource, we have labor and entrepreneurship. So if you want, you can do this classification also. You go the first route where you just list out the factors of production. That will get you the marks. In the scheme also, this is how it's given. They will put alternative answer and they might have given this. They'll be like, okay, you can say property resource and list out land and capital under that. And you say human resource, list out labor and entrepreneurship under that. So you see here, even in the answer scheme itself, for certain questions, there's no one fixed answer, right? So if you are someone who looks at past paper books, looks at a question, writes down the answer, goes to the scheme in the paper, they have written down or they have given an answer which does not, how to put it, exactly say what you have said, what you have written down. It's different. That doesn't mean your answer is wrong, right? What you need to look at is there are some specific words that must be in your answer. For example, in this question, you must include the word scarce resource or limited, unlimited, that part. And you must include, when used in production, economic resources have opportunity cost in production. So if you, as long as you have mentioned that scarcity and opportunity cost part, you're okay. You don't have to give a word by word copy and paste answer of what you see in the scheme. That's not the case. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of students doing exams. Everyone won't be writing the same exact answer. If they do, that means something is wrong. So in some way, everyone was communicating and copying answers. That can happen. So your answer can be unique based on your wording, the way you write answers. But the crux of the story, the main summary of your answer has to reflect whatever that's said in the scheme. It need not follow the scheme answer by word and word, right? You need to know that. Some people might be like, when you write an answer, it might have whatever that is needed to get the marks here, but some teachers might say, no, in the scheme they have given it this way, you have to write it that way. No, you don't have to. Even whatever that's given in the scheme, in paper correction, they correct it, they change it. That has happened. That has happened. Not only that, every time it happens in paper correction, right? Because there's no one answer for certain questions, pretty much any question. Okay, so have that in your head. If your friend has written an answer, different answer from yours, don't worry. As long as the main words are there in your answer, you're good to go. Clear? So we have done 4 questions now. For all these 4 questions, if you get them again, what do you think? No, we have done 3 questions. This is the 4th question. We didn't do it, I think. I skipped one. So the 3 questions we have done, are you all okay with them? The way we answered, the way we structured the answer. One more thing here, the first class, I didn't make you unmute yourself and talk. From next class onward, you'll be able to talk in the session also, because otherwise it will be boring for me, right? Because this is a paper discussion series, okay? This is not a paper, how to put it? This is not a paper discussion on radio, right? Where I can only talk, you can only listen. That's not the case. Here, interaction can happen in both ways. Right. And also one more thing, if you, some of you are asking, sir, can I get the recording of this session? This is how it works. These sessions I'm doing, like I said, not charging anything for these sessions, no, right? Zero price. Let's not say free, zero price. Now, since they are zero price, a lot of you might take it sort of for granted and not care about it and not, come to it properly. If I start out giving recordings, that's what's going to happen. They'll be like, sir, we'll give the recording, so I don't have to go today. And even though the recording is resting somewhere, you will never look at it afterwards. You will never find time for that, right? So the thing is, there should be some rules when giving out these recordings. I will give out recordings for students who regularly come to class and they miss out on one day. For them, I can give. Or students who are like, who come to the class and are like, sir, I want to go halfway. Think maybe 1 or 2 classes. If that happens, I can do, right? Or else maybe students, I see them talking a lot in the class. They contribute to the class a lot, and if they want, I will give. So there should be some rules. And the thing is, first of all, you should be in the class regularly. If you miss a class, you will get the recording, no problem. Because otherwise, there's no point in this. Right? You should put some effort to be here, sit here and learn. Otherwise, what are you giving? Nothing. To learn, you should give something. No, here you are not giving the money part, but at least you should give your attention, time and focus. Right? So what do you think? What I'm asking you to pay is not in money, is in your attention, time and your commitment. Are you all ready to pay with that? Or is it too much to ask? Cool. And also, like I said, this is the thing. Every week it will be a 2-hour session. Sometimes it might be more than 2 hours, a little bit, maybe 15 minutes extra. If there's a question, only one question left or something like that, I might extend it to 10 to 15 minutes like that. And also one more thing I want to explain, these sessions will focus more on quality rather than quantity. Here, my goal is not to cover more questions. It's not about the number of questions, but it's rather about, okay, one question we take and we dive deep into that question. That way, you cover a lot of the theory parts, you get to revise a lot of the theory parts, and also you get to learn how to structure answers. So that is one way of doing things. That's what I prefer. Normally in paper classes also, I do this for the previous batches, right? But if you are like, no, sir, I want to do more questions, you just read the question and give the answer, I'm okay. Like that, let me know. Okay. If majority of you feel that way, I'll have to think about it. But I think generally you all will be with me when I say we take one question, we dive deep into the question, we learn the theory, the concepts behind the question, we revise it, and then we write the answer. Okay. So which method you want? The deep dive or the surface level discussion? Will prefer the deep dive. Okay, so that's how what I also thought. And also I have one more question to ask. Actually, I will put this as a poll in in the Telegram group to get your idea. Here I have said only we'll be doing these essay type questions now. What do you guys think? Should I do only essay type questions, or do you want me to throw MCQ questions also here and there? Because in my opinion, essay types that I wanted to focus, because MCQs you might practice maybe when you are doing something like term, mid exams, monthly exams or something, you get to practice them a lot. Sometimes the teachers also will discuss those questions, and also you do MCQs in other subjects also. So MCQs, how you do them is something you already learn in other subjects as well. But how to structure answers in economics, you can't learn in accounting. You can't learn that in business studies also, because the way you structure answers are totally different. So this is totally perfect. So, but the questions which are discussed here, if you send them one day before, then we'll be prepared. Bin Hilmi, exactly, you just stole my plan. That was the plan. Actually, in my Saturday 2022-2023 classes, I have told them that I will send the questions in advance. I will tell which chapter to study, and then 2-3 days prior, I will send the, you have to do them by yourself and come to the class. Since this is the first day and there are students outside of my class also, that's why I didn't ask you to do anything in advance. Today I took you here and I'm explaining how it works. Okay, so from next week onwards, by Saturday or at least Sunday, I will put at least about 5 to 10 questions like this. You look at them, you do them. Before that, you have to study chapter 1 and then do the questions, structure your answers in your way, and then you come to the session where I will explain how to do it. So if you have done the same thing, perfect. If you have done something differently, you can ask me, sir, why can't I write it like this? Then only it becomes a discussion. Otherwise, it's just, like I said, it's a radio program. I talk, you guys listen. No point in that. That's what you do in classes also. No? Sir talks, you just listen. In school also, you do the same thing. Okay. Yeah, someone said for MCQs, do calculation from chapter 2 onwards. We have in chapter 1 also, we have those. So we'll do that as well. Okay, so but mainly focus will be on essay type, because I want you guys to practice writing answers and getting used to it. Okay, so from next week, that's how it will be. One question we have to do today itself without missing it is this. Look at the question. If you are not charged a price for the consumption of a good, that good must be a free good. What do you think? Yes or no? First tell me. You can say whatever your answer is, yes or no. Nice. The thing is, this is how it works now. If you are not charged a price for the consumption of a good, that means you are consuming something, let's say a food item or a cloth or a phone, you are getting it, they are saying you are getting it for free, no price. If that's the case, that product should be a free good. Doesn't it make sense? The statement, for me, it makes sense. Now the power went. Can you guys see me? You can. So they are saying you get it for free, so it's a free good. Doesn't it make sense? You think it's a yes? You should agree with this statement. Why are you guys saying no? It won't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It can't make sense because the free good they are talking about here is not products you get for free. Here, what is this free good? What's the other name? Non-economic goods. So you need to know the free good they are talking about here is not products you get for free from someone as a gift, but rather non-economic goods. If you don't know that, you're going to be like, I agree with this statement. And you'll be like, your answer will be like, I was not charged for it. I got it for free. It's a free good. You might write that. Someone who has no idea that free goods are non-economic goods will write that. It'll make total sense for them. You go and ask someone who has not done economics, they will say it's true. They will explain the answer like they are some economists. Right? But as an economic student, you should know free goods are non-economic goods. And just because something you get is free doesn't mean it's a non-economic good, because we already talked about it. Right? So your answer is going to be like this. So you can start off saying like, no, not necessarily. So they're asking you, do you agree with this statement? No. So you can straight up say, no, I don't agree with this statement. Then you have to explain why you are saying no, because they have asked that. The question is very clear. Do you agree with this statement? Explain your answer. So when you say no, you have to explain why it's a no. So here you can simply answer, just of charge does not mean it's a non-economic good. Non-economic goods come at free price, zero price. But economic goods also can come at zero price. We just talked about it in the previous question. Non-economic goods come at zero price. They have no price. Yes, agreed. Sunlight is free. Air is free. Forest, these trees we have are just there. No one made it free. The water in the river free. But if I gift you this Nokia, I don't know the model phone, you were not charged anything for this phone. When you use it, you use it for free. Does that make this phone a non-economic good? It doesn't. It still remains an economic good. So When you structure the answer in your head, you have to first be like, okay, no. That's the first thing I have to say. No. What's your explanation? The explanation is non-economic goods have no price. But at the same time, economic goods, even though they have price, they can come at zero price. Hence, we can't decide a product is a free good or an economic good based on the price being zero. You have to look at the other factors. Like what? Whether it's limited, whether it's unlimited. Whether there's rivalry in consumption or not. Whether resources are used to produce it or not. Based on that only you can tell whether a product is a free good or an economic good. Right? So that's your answer. So how do you start? So I'll just roughly type it down. So you start saying no. Then what do you say? Non-economic goods have no price. At the same time, economic goods also come, or you can say it like economic goods can also come at zero price. If you want, you can put an example. Received a smartphone as a gift. So smartphone still is an economic good. No? So something like that you can tell. Received a smartphone as a gift for free, but smartphones are economic goods. And then you can go ahead and say, to decide whether a product is an economic good or non-economic good, you should look at other factors than just zero price. That's enough. You see, when I worded it the first time, I didn't say it exactly like I have typed. But whatever I just said earlier and whatever I type now mean the same thing. That's how your answer has to be. You can't memorize an answer. Right? Hamdan is like, sir, I'm bored of answering this same question every time. Because this is one question, you can easily get confused. This is a question from 2018 again. This is a question, yeah, 2018. In question 1, this is the last question. Very good question. Students can easily miss to give an answer. Some might say yes and be like, free good. That's the explanation they'll give. So, clear? All good? Okay, someone has switched their video on. Old karmas haunting you now. Right. So I think I can type like this in the future class also. That way it's better. But I'll have to get my other keyboard, the laptop keyboard I'm not used to. I have my bigger one. Yeah, here it is. In that only I used to type. Okay, so 4 questions. Cool. This PDF I will put in the Telegram group where you have 6 more questions. Attempt them for next class. Right. But the thing is, you have to honestly attempt them. I also told this in the class itself. If you are not committed, you're not gonna learn anything, right? You are spending 2 hours extra here to learn something. No, if you want to learn something, you have to give something. What I'm asking, what did I ask you to give? What is the payment you are giving? Your attention, your commitment, your time, focus also. I've put a lot of bigger list now, I see. So if you can't give it, you're not going to get anything from this. To get the maximum out of this is the rule. You study the chapter. I'll say what's the chapter we are going to do in the next class. You study that chapter, revise it, then I'll put the paper, the questions we are going to discuss. You do it, right? You take it and you do it, and you come to the session where we'll discuss, okay, this is the question, these are the concepts, this is how you answer. So what's going to happen? If you had any doubts in the theory revision part, you're going to get those things cleared. If you have written down the answer in a certain way and there are some shortcomings, you're going to get those cleared. So you see, you can get the maximum out of these sessions if you follow the steps I just put out. Right? Can I expect you to do that from next week? So study chapter 1. I'll put this paper out. You have to do it. Right? Actually write the answers. Take some time. It will take how much? Maybe take 10 minutes per day and do one question. So when you come to the next class, by that time we'll have all, you might have all 6 questions that's left in this PDF complete. Commit to it. Right? Then only you can do it. Because you can see where our country is right now. We have politicians, we have super rich people, but they can't save our country because they are not committed to it, the work they are doing. Give me a minute. Right? So make sure this is your job, studying. So do it in a committed fashion. That's all I can ask. That's all your parents or anyone who is sponsoring you can ask. If you are sponsoring you, that's all your conscience would ask. Okay. We have thieves. That's a different story. Don't talk about them. Okay. So from future, that's how the class will work. And also in the class Telegram group, like I promised, I will put some MCQ questions there itself, and there itself I'll try to put the explanation videos also, so it might be useful, because I find these things very interesting to do, and you guys can get some benefit out of it. As long as that happens, I can do that, right? And yeah, so 4 questions we have done. Next class we can do the balance 6, but you have to commit, like I said, and make sure you guys do the questions and come by next week. Absolutely, today's class was perfect. Really learned a lot. And one more time, thank you for that feedback. One more thing. If you have any questions from chapter 1 that you have doubts in, you have tried the question, you don't know how to answer, or someone explained it to you, you don't know, you still don't understand it, send me those questions in Telegram or WhatsApp. So maybe in the future sessions, I can add that question and we can talk about it. Cool. Next week, yes, for pretty much this month, it's gonna be chapter 1. Right? Once we finish chapter 1 questions and have a proper understanding of the whole chapter, theory part and the questions part, then we move on to chapter 2, where we'll be doing lots of calculations also. So that's how it's going to be. I'm going to tackle it by chapter. Okay, so I didn't want to go very deep today itself, because like I said, it's the first session. No, I wanted to talk about other things also. So from next week onwards, I hope today we did 4 questions. Next week I can finish more than 6 questions. So this PDF will be there. I will put another PDF also if it's necessary before next week. So it will be anyway, like I said, chapter 1 related questions. So make sure you study the chapter and then do the exams and do the paper. Okay. And make sure you guys have your videos shut down. And from next week, get ready to answer also when I ask a question. It will be, like I said, you can get the maximum out of it. I have lots of people staring at me here because time is up. No. Okay, and if you have any feedbacks you want to give, you want anything in the class to happen in a different way, give the suggestions. I can take them. And like I said, give questions also that you have done in the past where you think you have some doubts. Have a great week ahead. See you all next Tuesday, or maybe next Saturday or Sunday if you are coming to my theory classes. Have a great week ahead.